Hey guys, this is Jabroni, and today I want to talk to you about a DragBat attack that I planned in a recent war with my Town Hall 11 account. And so the reason I went with DragBat, or at least one of the reasons, was that I saw that this expo here and this expo here were both set to ground. And so when you see expo set to ground, two or more, I immediately start thinking of air attacks. The problem with this space is that there was two Inferno towers that were both single target. Single target Infernos are bad news for dragons or for E-Drags because of how quickly they can roast through those troops that, are a lot of troop space. And so that's a very expensive type of thing for single and target Infernos to, roast through. Balloons wouldn't be a bad idea, but I'm not the greatest Laloon attacker. So I was thinking, how could I exploit this space with the two ground set expos using DragBat? So one thing you guys need to know about any type of troop is that you can't just plop all of your troops at one space or one side and expect them to clear out the whole base, because then, some will go this way, some will go this way, some will go around the outside. That's not going to work. So you always have to have a way of, some people call it funneling your troops, but creating a predictable path for your troops. I don't care if they're Yetis, if they're Hog Riders, Miners, Dragons, P.E.K.K.A.s, whatever the case may be, you have to have a way of directing your troops along a predictable path. Now, with Yetis, with P.E.K.K.A.s, and other ground troops of that nature, obviously walls will help to confine and direct their path. But with Miners and with Dragons and with Hog Riders and Balloons and E-Drags, walls do not affect those troops. So you have to have a way of setting up the attack so that they will follow along a predictable path. So how did I do that? Well, what I decided to do was to use my heroes. I saw that this queen, the enemy queen, was located right here and would jump over the wall eventually. So what I did is I brought my Barb King. I think there was a hole right around here. So I brought my Barb King to take out the enemy queen, and I brought my queen behind. And then what they were able to do was to take out these buildings here along with that air defense, which obviously is one of the key enemies to dragons. And then I also brought an E-Drag, and I brought it somewhere down here, so that way it would take out these buildings along here. And my goal was to bring my dragons along this type of path. And so this is a little bit unconventional. It's kind of like a diagonal path, but that would allow my dragons to follow along this path, hopefully get the eagle, because that's always a main target at Town Hall 11 and obviously at Town Hall 12 and Town Hall 13. And I would use a rage spell somewhere around here to help me with that air defense that was located in that area, and also use the Grand Warden's ability. So that's what the dragons were going to do. But what about those single target Infernos? How do I take care of them? Well, my bats would come through this area, and I'd have to use a freeze spell once or twice with that wizard tower. They would take out that single target Inferno. Well, how do I get the other single target Inferno? Can I predict that my bats are going to follow along that path and make it there? Probably not. So what I did is I brought a Battle Blimp with a Yeti. And if it was Town Hall 12 or Town Hall 13, I could bring two Yetis for my CC troops. But at Town Hall 11, you can only bring 35 troop space, so you can only fit one Yeti and something else. So I brought a Yeti and two Valks in a Battle Blimp to target that single target Inferno. And again, I would have to use a Rage in that area. If I was fortunate, they would also either get the Expo, and then if I was really fortunate, not only would they get this air defense here, which was pretty much a given, but maybe they would get this air sweeper, maybe the other air defense. I wasn't guaranteeing that that would happen, but I definitely was thinking that they would take out the structures in this area here. So again, if you're visualizing this, which you always have to do with any attack, my battle blimp takes out that compartment there on the right. My bats would take out the single target inferno and other structures in that compartment up top. My heroes, which I start the attack with, are going to take out the stuff that I have there in blue. And so that, along with the E-Drag taking out the stuff in green, allows my dragons to have a nice predictable path coming kind of in this diagonal motion and then continuing along. Again, my bats would also continue along. And so either the dragons or the bats are going to take out the eagle, and I would have a total of 3 free spells. I already said I would use 2 up here in that top compartment for the wizard tower that was up there. And my other freeze spell, if I need to freeze the dragon, or sorry, not the dragon, if I need to freeze the eagle artillery, especially if it targets my bats, I hate when that happens, but I would have an extra freeze for that, or maybe a freeze spell for this last wizard tower down here. So guys, that's the plan. And let's take a look at how this worked. And so, like I said, the E-Drag comes down here. A test balloon always goes in front in case there's a seeking air mine. Unfortunately, when the balloon died, it brought an air mine. Come on, Supercell, fix that ridiculous thing. My heroes were brought up here. Now, I should have used the King's ability early, so that way the barbs would be targeted by the single target inferno. Maybe I should have brought my queen a little bit higher. I was a little worried she would not get the air defense. Fortunately, she redirected. One thing I want to mention with air attacks, it's usually not ideal to pull the CC because dragons would never pull out a ground targeting troop such as an ice golem. But my heroes would. So that was a little unfortunate. Fortunately, I was able to take out the enemy witch with my queen and the poison, so that still ended up working out. You saw the blimp come in here to the right, and once that did its job, you'll see it did get the expo and the air sweeper, so that was excellent. Then I was able to bring my dragons and the warden behind, and then like I said, I could use a rage spell here near this air defense, and the warden's ability timed with the eagle strikes. That's usually the best time to use the warden's ability with dragons, to then be able to take out the air defense and the other defensive structures there. Bats come from up north. Like I said, I would have to use probably 2 free spells here to protect the bats from that wizard tower, and they take out the other single target inferno. From here, it's just a matter of reacting as to where I need to use my other freeze spell. I had to use it here on the wizard tower because the bats got there before the dragons would. If the dragons would have got there, then they would have tanked for the bats, and I could have used the freeze spell perhaps on the air defense. From here, there's pretty much not else to do. I did bring 5 minions to help with cleanup. Once the bats and the battle blimp took out the compartments here at the top and on the right, I was able to freely put minions down to start with cleanup. Because that is the one thing that could happen with dragon attacks, is that you could have a time fail, especially if the bats somehow get wiped out, either from a wizard tower or from the eagle artillery itself. So it's good to have maybe a few minions to help with cleanup. Guys, that's how you plan an attack with DragBat. You not only have bats to help you, but you also have the battle blimp, and that's something I want to encourage you guys to consider using, either a battle blimp or a stone slammer with DragBat attacks. Hope you guys enjoy this video. We'll see you next time.